Hey, it's Biddy Penny. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a junk journaling hack for all of you guys. Okay, junk envelopes, you know, from your mailbox, are all the rage in junk journaling, but I have never used them because all the windows are different sizes, they're in different places, and I can't be bothered with like collaging tiny strips on them. It just pushes me past my comfort zone. Um, but grab your tissue. So there I have sewing patterns, some Tim Holtz tissue. I have a collection of envelopes, some that have been sent to me in Happy Mail. Thank you, friends. And some that I've picked up along the way. And I'm just going to pull out a few that kind of match the projects that I'm working on. And I'm going to show you something I figured out. I've never seen this somewhere else, but I'm not saying it hasn't been done before. It's just when I came up with this in my head, I literally ran to my craft room to make these. I had about 20 minutes before we were going to an orchestra concert, and I was like, I can at least get this first part done. So I'm using a piece of tape and I'm separating the layers here, um, to get the plies separated on the napkins. So I'm going to pull those apart and we're just going to jump right into this. This works for any size envelope with any kind of windows you've got. And that's what I love about this. It's super fast, easy, and I played with it quite a bit to try to find what I thought was the best combination. So I am going to use some Mod Podge, and I'm going to use a silicone makeup brush, and I'm going to apply the Mod Podge all around everywhere where I want the tissue paper to stick. And I'm even doing these top layer, the seal of the envelope and that edge, because a lot of times it's going to be sewn into like a junk journal. So the extra stability and thickness is good. Between the windows, this is the most tedious part. It's no big deal though. I'm just going around the windows and trying not to get the glue in. I did sometimes, and it was no big deal to clean it up. And now I simply just lay my tissue paper on top, and then I put this to the side and I let it dry. Okay, so that was fast. I mean, I have a ton of these now. So I did all of that before I went to the orchestra concert. I came back and immediately jumped back into my craft room to work with this next part. Okay, so let's go for the removal of the tissue for those windows. Some of the papers you work with, it'll be really easy to see where the windows are. And I found that if you use like a dark cardstock behind them, it's even easier. See, and I'm grabbing like the light from my phone, the flashlight on my phone, to really shine the light on it. So it's super easy to see where those windows are. Now I grabbed my water brushes because I have watercolor brushes that already have water in the chambers of them. And I think these two sizes are ideal for this project. And at first, I just put a little bit of water around the edges, and then I gave it just a little bit of time to really kind of soak through the fibers, thinking that would make it a lot easier to remove. So here's a darker pattern, and again, that dark paper behind it really does help show where the windows are. Plus, when you're in person and you're doing it, I think it's a little easier to see. But I'm doing the same thing. So I'm just putting water around. If you don't have a water brush like mine, don't let that stop you. Just get a regular paintbrush with some water in it. Here I'm using like a bone folder to kind of separate the edges, and that works. So I'm going to show you different approaches, right? Like different tools. So the bone folder worked. That was totally fine. And then here you can tell down at the bottom, it just wasn't quite glued all the way to the edge. So I just kind of rolled it back and glued it back into place with my fine tip glue bottle. Okay. All right. Next, I'm going to show you another tool. So I have like a pokey tool, a really pretty one that my friend made me, Gloria Wolf. And I thought this was good, but it can scratch the acetate. And if you're overzealous, then you could actually damage the envelope. That's never fun. So I think this is my least favorite tool for this job, but it's totally an option. So there's two tools that I used. The one on the bottom looks a little fuzzy, but I will show you how I kind of deal with all of that. I definitely just use my scissors to cut around the edges of this tissue. You could also use water around those edges and tear it off that way, but I just decided to use my scissors. So there we go. One envelope done. And now when I say done, this project is all about just like your base layer, like getting a base layer of coverage and then coming back and adding ephemera and stamps and stenciling, paste, or do whatever you want. This is my favorite ratio of water. Just color it in. Like, you don't have to be too shy because this is going on plastic, waterproof, and it's been Mod Podged and dried, so that's pretty good too. Like, you're not going to damage the envelope. You're not pouring water on it. You're just getting it damp enough. This is my favorite tool for the job, my finger tool. I think it worked the best. And that once I figured out this ratio of water and using my finger, then it went super quick and I had a lot less of those frayed edges. Whoops. But don't let that bother you, because you can just use your scissors and kind of clean up the edges. Once I was done, I went around all of my edges. I wanted to make sure they were all glued down really well. So I checked all of my envelopes. I checked for their edges, and I made sure the windows were looking the way I wanted them to. Don't worry if like some of the paper around your window isn't covered, because you can always like ink blend around it, fill it in with like a water-based marker or something like that. You wouldn't want to use an alcohol marker necessarily, because you wouldn't want to like have marks on your windows. Okay, so let's talk about like some ways to use these. Leslie over at 507 Willow House Journals turns them into journals, and they're amazing. Here I got the idea to fold it in half and then cut the top. So that's, I turned it into like a double pocket, and then I brought in this collaged paper to cover that background. I ink blended the top, but then I actually decided to actually cover the top of those as well with pattern paper. But basically you could sew this double pocket into your journal, which would be really fun. So that's one way to use them. And I'm just going to show you also real quick, like how that would fold, you know, how you would sew that into the journal one way. You could tip it in with washi tape or tape in general. You can take as many covers as you want and make a flip-flop journal with it. If you have a normal journal, you can just pop it one in and have it between your pages like so, and have a pocket in there. And then I'm going to show you, you know, you can make them the actual journal covers, right? So you just kind of glue them inside of each other. You do have to watch the pockets, obviously, with that back, with the lip of the seal of the envelope. But like, you can put two of these together and have a tall document style journal like this one. Just trim off the excess paper if you want. I don't know, you do you. But that is another way like to make a journal out of these. The possibilities are endless, absolutely endless. I'm trying to show you here, this could be a flip-flop journal as well. I hope you enjoyed this hack, and I will see you next time. Bye.